Yes, Raghuramji.
Okay. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You know, when I was working in the airport long time ago, I used to have a boss, a very nice boss, very good, everything. But there was one uh, funny thing about him was that, airport is a place where so many visitors would come and we have to meet because I was the ground engineer. So naturally, we had to meet them. So actually, during that time, Indira Gandhi came and we spent an hour time with her because her plane was. So like that, there were so many things that were there. So whenever somebody we meet, and then I tell my boss, so and so was here, and he did like this, he did like this, that, like that, and a air commodore was there. I told my boss, today air commodore was there, very nice. He's a nice person. See, like that, some air chief has come. Air chief is a nice person. Like that, I say. Whenever I say somebody else that he is a nice person, immediately my boss would say, am I not nice? That means I'm not supposed to say another person nice person. So therefore, then onwards, I decided, sir, you are very nice person, but the air commander is also a nice person. Just politically manage that whole thing. It happens like that, that one thing is good, I put down the other thing. This is what happened in our culture, that they wanted to really extol extraordinary thing about the sannyas ashrama. Sannyas ashrama is wonderful, very good, very nice. But then in order to bring up that sannyas ashrama, lot of times people put down the grihastha ashrama. As if grihastha ashrama is something which is condemnable. In fact, somebody is married, oh my God, he is married. The kind of an expression. See, your parents married, therefore that you are there. See, if it is something to be condemned, then why such an extraordinary, wonderful position is given to Grihasthashrama in the Sanatana Dharma? In fact, a lot of activity of growth, spiritual growth develops in the Grihasthashrama. That's why we have mantras to show that. Scriptures have said, Jive Masharadashatam, Nanda Masharadashatam, Moda Masharad. All these things apply at the Grihasthashrama level. So therefore, basically, that it is not something that is to be condemned. So actually, I was having this problem even right from the beginning when I was hearing extol, ex, ex, giving extolling about the sannyas ashrama and putting down about the grihastha ashrama. I was feeling very bad. Grihastha is a wonderful place. One might need it, one might not need it. That's a different issue. But there were so many things which are there in the grihastha ashrama which are really spiritually elevating. And the first and foremost thing about the spiritual elevation in Grihasthashrama is, Brahman is supposed to be existence, knowledge, and bliss. Uh, that is Satchitananda, we say that. And life, living, you can experience only in the Grihasthashrama. The child is there, others are there. Whenever you come, the world becomes lively, Grihasthashrama. Similarly, Chit, lot of activity of the mind, lot of activity of planning, scheming, everything. Chit activity goes on in Grihasthashrama. And another thing is sannyas ashrama. I mean, another thing is ananda. There is no other place that where you have the experience of ananda as much as what that you have in the Grihasthashrama. This is what scripture said it. Our rishis, they were married. In fact, married rishis have said, the greatest of Ananda, that it says when the Ananda Mimamsa or Ananda discussion that goes on, when the discussion about Ananda, they talked about it, they said the greatest of Ananda is the sex Ananda that we have. And that can only be possible in the Grihastha Ashrama. And how beautifully presented the mantras that are there to talk about that in the probably in the Bradharnik Upanishad, he says, Priya Striya Parishvaktaha Nabahyam Kanchana Nantaram Kanchana Veda. When you are embraced by the fond woman, you have no knowledge of outside, you no knowledge of outside, your mind has become absolutely silent, quiet. And esasya paramanandaha, that's what is the state of paramananda sthiti. So, like that, they have given so many different ways, expression about the ananda. Another thing is the grahasthashrama is a state where you interact with the objective world outside. And that is what in Mandukya Upanishad Karika it says that Drishya Darshana Sambandhe. Drishya is the object, and then Darshana is the experience of meeting with that. Sambandhe, the connection with that is Ya Anubhuti Ranamaya. Anubhuti is Anamayaha Anubhuti. That means it's an extraordinary kind of an experience that you have. And but then that experience you can only have in the Grahastha Tam avashtabhyatishtatvam. Be in that state. That's why Grahasthashrama provided so many occasions for you to see that you have that Ananda experience, Brahmananda experience, Paramananda experience. And all these things that later on the Ananda stages that they talked about in the Grahasthashrama. Like for example, Grahasthashrama is the place where you learn the art, music, dance, painting, literature, all these things that you get extraordinary degree of Ananda. That's why ordinary simple Ananda is given by the object and interaction with the sense organ. And when you are in desire, that's why Asishto, Dadisto, Balishtaha, when all these things are there, Tasyayam Prudhvi Sarva Vittasya Purnasat, I have all that money. And then I interact with the object outside, then the Ananda that you get, Sayeko Manushananda, that is one human happiness. But beyond that, he says that Manushya Gandharvanam Ananda. That means you develop an art, you develop a music, you develop singing. And the Ananda that you get while doing that is 100 times greater than the human happiness. When yesterday in one of my talks I was referring to that, then one medical doctor was there. Raghuram, what you said is so true. I love painting. And while doing painting, I'm so totally absorbed in that. The Ananda that I get is something which is out of the world. But I never thought that it is spiritually that you are talking about it. Today I can realize that. For years that I practiced that painting. Any artwork that you say, Gandharva is actually the art. And Manushya Gandharva, that means human Gandharva, that means humanly developed artwork, gives you Ananda like that. In fact, if you develop that Ananda of doing an artwork, at that point of time, sincerely somebody invites you, come for the food, you are hungry, food is ready, everything is there, but you still say that, from the, just give me 1 minute, let me finish this. And that 1 minute can be 1 hour, 2 hours. You never go. Why? Because the Ananda that you get at that point of time is so much more than hungry and eating the food. If you're not hungry, you do not go for food. But your choice food is there. And then you are hungry. But even then, the food can wait. Ananda that's there, this one gives. Similarly, the invention, the research work that you do, you get absorbed in the work. That's also like Gandharva Ananda. Scientist Ananda is that Ananda that he gets in doing that research work. It's not actually intellectual, but it's something that a creation that you create. And that's what is the Ananda that you get. Ananda is so wonderful. That's why we have such examples where Newton was doing some experiments with that. That means a creative experiment. And then his daughter brings the food and keeps the lunch box there and goes away. A guest was there talking, waiting for a situation to speak to Newton. And then while he was waiting for the opportunity to speak to Newton, meanwhile this carrier has come and he was also feeling hungry. So then therefore that he just simply opened that carrier and finished that food and then kept it there. Later, about half an hour later or an hour later, that Newton just came out of this thing and then he opened the carrier to have food. And then he saw that empty carrier. Then he laughed. He said, "Oh, it seems I finished eating already." See, that means the joy that you get is something which is extraordinary. Human happiness will not give. That's the reason why this artists get that ananda. And that ananda, you get it in the world outside, in the material world, and that's what is grasta level. So these are the things which show that grasta ashrama is a place where you have experience of Brahman, Brahmasthiti, Atmasthiti. Sex gives you ananda, a creativity gives you ananda, and a poetry gives you ananda. In fact, knowing that, Guru Purnima Day, one girl somewhere from Kangri in Himachal Pradesh, she remembered me on the Guru Purnima Day, and she wrote such a beautiful poetry. I can never equate that joy that in giving that poetry that she has done it. So joy is there in the Grahasthashrama, experience of joy, and it is not condemned. See, it is not condemnable. That's why he says that a lot of people, they created such a feeling that a joy that you get in the Grahasthashrama, people feel guilty about it. There is nothing like guilt about it. Enjoy that. Nice, wonderful sweet that you eat, and then enjoy it. Nice, wonderful music that you enjoyed. It's not the question of it is pious or impious or something like that. It gives you joy, and that itself is Brahmic joy experience. In fact, there also he is very clearly gives Priyastriya Parishvakta. That means to say that fond woman that he talks about, that in that company of that fond woman, the joy that you get is something which is Brahmananda. And Vidyarani also gives the same idea, saying that Vishayanandoho Brahmananda. And that is what is the Ananda that you have. So Grahasthashrama is not killer of joy. It's not running away from the material. But very clearly he gives that it should be legitimate. What you take is legitimate. He says that Bhagavad Gita, he says that it should be something, in Yoga Vasudha, in Narpak Sutra, he says that Dharma aviruddho kamosme bharatarshava. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. It is not aviruddha, that means it's not against dharma. Dharmic way that when you get it, dharma aviruddho kamosme bharatarshava. I am that kama, I am that desire. Krishna says, I am that desire which is not against dharma. So that means to say, by following dharma, the happiness that you get, that's what you get in the grahasthashrama. So it is not condemned. That's why we have given such a great importance to the joy that you get in the grahasthashrama. The food that you eat is something which is like, everybody likes sweets. And you know that excess sweets is going to give harm to you. But then how to see that this grahasthashrama gives you sweet, but at the same time brings about a control over that. That's why they said that you make the sweets on a special day, on a festival day. So every month we have one festival or the other. And on the festival day that you see, make the sweets. And most of the Indian sweets, particularly in the festival day that you do it, it stays there for 1 day or 2 days, not more than that. So 2 days enjoy the sweet. And not only that, if festival like Ganesha Puja, on one single day of Ganesha Puja itself, they make 5 different types of vegetables. In fact, we want sweets. It's not for the, actually we give the name to Ganesha. We say that Ganesha likes these different sweets. And modaka, one this, one that, and all that. All that you make, actually you are interested. It's not Ganesha, he's not going to eat. But then what happens is on the same day that you have 5 different sweets that you eat, along with other food that you eat, that means what happens? That means the quantity is reduced. Though the sweet is there, you take extra sweet, fine. But only that 1 day or 2 days that you take the sweet. Rest of the week, rest of the month, till the next festival comes, you don't eat sweets. See, by giving you the sweet, they have controlled over your sweet eating. That control over the sweet eating is more important than giving the sweet. And giving the sweet, you really enjoy because that's something Brahma Sukha. And that too, it is a Sukha that you eat on the Ganesha Puja day. That's why a lot of people say that in the Grahi, it's a prasada of Ganesha, therefore you take it. Psychologically, you accept it. Psychologically, it plays such an important role in Grahasthashrama to have this puja and then festivity And not only festivity, all those kind of things. In fact, this is what I said, that in Prashanti Kutiram, I noticed that people who come before the festival, like 1 week before the festival, Ganesha, 2 weeks before Ganesha, 2 weeks before Ramnavami, or Deepavali, particularly Deepavali, I see that people come 2 weeks before that, and then their whole idea is now we are going back to Deepavali or going back to uh, Dasara or something like that. Those people, the 100% recovery from the sickness. They come out of sickness. The joy experience of that festivity brings you out of that sickness itself. If you, we don't make the record of it, but then if you make a record of it, you can see that these months when before the festival starts, our recovery, that means to say effectiveness of yoga therapy is 100%. And we attribute that success to the yoga, but it is not yoga. We have to attribute that to the festivity, mood of festivity. That's what is very important. In fact, that's what our traditionally also we say that. Oh, it is a prasada, it's all right. It's not against my health. It does not destroy my health. And literally it does not destroy your health if it is taken in the name of prasada. In fact, my friend from Germany, he loves India. For him, India, coming to India is like coming to a Punya Kshetra, coming to a pilgrim center. And he comes to Germany, from Germany all the way he comes to Bangalore and directly comes to Prashanti. And then look at the way that his joy of coming to this festivity kind of a thing boosts up his immunity so much. So much. You can't believe that. Like when he lands in Bangalore and I'm driving him to Prashanti, first thing he says, stop at Darshini, we will have dosa here. And then he will have the water, not bottled water, the glass water that they give in that Darshini, he will have it. Nothing will happen to you. And in fact, many of the Indians who go to abroad, they don't for even 6 months, 1 year, they don't drink other than the bottled water. But the moment that he lands, he eats dosa in Darshini and he takes glass water. Nothing happens to him. And he comes to Prashanti, eats all kinds of food that's there in Prashanti. And every time he says, Raghuram, my surprise is that my blood sugar is so low. It's not giving any problem to me. Basically, that festive mood is something which is taking care of it. The same thing in USA, in Germany when he is there, and I go to Germany to his place, he says that, look, my blood sugar is increasing, my this is increasing. A small little cake that I ate, and then my sugar is increasing. It happens like that in Germany. It doesn't happen here. And he was confused. He was surprised. He was confused. He said, why it doesn't happen in India? It happens in Germany. He said, because you love India. That's why all these things are under control. Takes care of it. So basically, what happened is that in the name of festivity, in the name of God, in the name of prasada, we do it. Chitta prasadana, that's why it is called as prasada. And you take it, it doesn't harm you. You don't have to worry about diabetes, hypertension, etc., etc. It's a wonderful thing. So in Grasthashrama, it gives you that the joy as your own nature, object pushes you to that joy. And health is your own nature. That's why it maintains your health. And more importantly is the whole Grihasthashrama is full of that positiveness in that. And this is what is Dharma. Any Dharma is that which gives you the idea of the spirituality which is supposed to be positivity. That gives that idea in the Grihasthashrama. So that's why we have so many festivals. And in the normal course of time also, if I just go to somebody's house, I mean, earlier it used to be like that. Today it is not like that. Earlier, when we go to somebody's house, they give the sweet. The first question they say, why is this sweet? What is the occasion? That means you don't eat sweet without any occasion. Yeah, the occasion is that, the Deepavali is there tomorrow. We made for that, therefore I offer that sweet. Or yesterday was Deepavali, so you ate it. But without that, you don't eat. That means to say the other day's control has happened because that we permit you eat on that Deepavali day. So therefore, that festivals are, in one sense, giving the license. And the license is also not just to eat or drink or something like that. License is given to see that you have that Brahmic experience. But at the same time, the festivals have given the control over the other days. On one side, it appears to be giving license, but on the other side, it is also controlling you. So this way, this nature, the region of Grasthashrama is so important. Another thing which I said in Grasthashrama is something, it makes that idea of God, it may be from Puranas, may not have any reality, but because that we have these pujas, because that we have these sessions, that's why we have the living experience of that God. Ganesha is no more in a book. Ganesha is living in front of us with flesh and blood. Every God is like that. Rama is living in front of us. Krishna is living. When Krishna Janmashtami we say, Krishna is living with us, is a living experience. We have not kept God above on the clouds. We brought the God to the human level. That way he said that bring the God to the human level so that you can see God in the human being. So to be able to see the divinity of the human being, we need all this ritual that we do, all these practices that we do in the Grasthashrama. Now look at the way that they have recorded these Puranas. A particular day, on full moon day, on new moon day, and all those things, that these things happen. Like recently what we have seen, that Vyasa is born on the day Ashada Purnima. Now Ashada Purnima is a very rare Purnima, that is Ashada, which is supposed to be Vyasa Purnima. We call it as Guru Purnima. See, that means basically the idea is that we recognize the dates that were there in Puranas, which may be 7,000, 6,000, 5,000 years old. So that means to say these rituals, these practices, enliven the dates of the historical dates, because of these Puranas that we have, because of the festival that we have. So unconsciously, without giving a particular idea, we have made that history concrete. In fact, in Ramayana, when you go to that, we think that Ramayana is a kalpanika, that means to say the imagination. No, when Rama comes for wedding at that time, the way that Vasishtha speaks about the Rama's lineage, almost like 20 kings before Rama were there, and then he gives the whole list of it. That means we had a history of all those people who were there. It cannot be kalpanika. It cannot be imaginary. When Rama's lineage he gives, Vasishtha gives all that, then Sita's priest is also not ordinary person. He gives a whole list of Sita's earlier generations who were there. That means Janaka's earlier generations. See, that means how many generations we keep. It's like a it's like a guideline for us when we remember this Rama and Sita's episode in the Grasthashrama, that we also try to see that how many generations we remember. That's why we have, in order to see that those memories that we continue to maintain, we have this Pitru Paksha, where you offer the water tarpana for all your generations that you have lost. In fact, my brother, he keeps a very uh, clear documentation of all those things. So when he goes for Pitru Tarpana, we all go, but he is the eldest, therefore he will be there with us. When he gives the Pitru Tarpana, he gives for 70 people who are there. That means 70 people he'll remember. It's about 3-4 generations that he will remember. Others will be watching him, because many people come for Pittarpana for one generation, two generation, parents and grandparents and all that. They look at him. In fact, somebody has taken the whole picture, whole video when my brother was offering that Tarpana for that. That is what is very important to see, that how we can make the rituals in Grasthashrama will make this life so wonderful. In all these cases, what is important thing for us as a dharma is that when you offer this tarpana, when you do these things, you have definite self-control, discipline within you. And every discipline is something which elevates you spiritually. What is yoga? Yoga is a discipline on yourself. And that is brought about by these rituals that we do it. So therefore, you are incorporating the principles of spiritual growth towards freedom with the help of these disciplines, with this ritual that you do in the Grasthashrama. That's why Grasthashrama is very important. And we make these Puranas a very lively stories in front of us. We don't question them. They are existing. And third important aspect of this is that the moment you think of God, you think of the higher forces, you become humble. Humility brings about. So on that day that you are humble, and not only the once that quality of humility comes within you, you just notice yourself that day. You will not yell at somebody, you will not talk harsh at somebody, and you can easily pardon somebody. All these things happen very unconsciously. You don't have to put an effort for that. So that means to say, this Sanatana Dharma, with the help of these Grasthashrama, trains you. It like irons out or harnesses all the kind of negative emotions that are there within you. You become positive. So all these things are the spiritual growth. So the whole life itself is planned in such a way that spiritual growth is possible in the way of life. So what is not yoga? Every bit of life that we live in Grihastha is a yoga. Apart from that, even the life also that there is so much of yogic incorporation in the practices that is there. One of the important incorporation of yoga is patience. Don't get angry. Be patient. These are the things that are there. Look at the way when the child is born. Child can be cranky. Child can do all kinds of things. But you will have a patience toward the child. It teaches such a big patience. Marriage itself has given you so much of patience. And the childbirth gives additional patience to you. If somebody really accepts all those things. Otherwise, somebody wants to become like a boss, he will not be making use of this grasthashrama. That's a different issue. But it provides an opportunity for you to spiritually grow with all these things. Child does all kinds of cranky things, but then mother has such a wonderful patience. She accepts that. He doesn't want to go to school, and then mother wants him to put on the shoes. And then, he consciously put the right shoe on the left foot and shoe on the right foot, trying to put it. And you try to tell him that, no, this is not it. He says, don't tell me, I'm doing it. And you can't yell at him, you can't say anything, you be patient, waiting for that. After all those things, he says, okay, now help me. He doesn't even request you, he says, do. You are he's the boss. And then you do it. Do you get angry with him? No. It makes you to feel such a training in love, training in compassion, training in forgiveness about him. Child is wonderful. You don't remember that. All that anger that you had. So many ways that the Grihastha trains you. Amount of psychological training that occurs in the Grihastha, if you take it right way, you do not get anywhere else. Guest comes at a point where you are going somewhere, you are doing something else, guest comes. You can't say no to it. Say, please come, welcome. And you talk to him, you sit with that person or with those people. And then all those things are they not teaching you that patience? Are they not taking you that you can acceptance? All these things are nothing but the spiritual journey that we make. How much of spiritual journey that Grihastha will make us? So therefore, it is an opportunity for you to develop even material world outside because you have training, you have educated yourself in the earlier school days, college days, and you are graduated now. That means to say that brahmacharya ashrama that you have learned, and then that you put into the activity in the grihastha ashrama, that you develop all the wonders in the offices, you develop the various things. So it's an intense period that where you consciously do the work. And because that is young days that you are involving in the work, do it full passionately. Don't worry about the result. Do it passionately. That is what Krishna said in important message in the Grihastha. He said, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Adhikara there, he says that do it because that you have eligibility and do it because that you are service to the society that you do, you repay to the service, and it's like your responsibility. And third is that do it with the passion. Don't look at the failure. Doing is something, every failure is something that you understand, you learn, and then but march forward. This is what the Grihastha is all about. A wonderful opportunity that it gives. In fact, while giving talks, I used to say that Edison failed 700 times preparing the bulb, but then he didn't give up, he continued to do it. And next time that he tried, he could make the bulb. Actually, I was saying 700 times. Once I went to Edison's place itself. And when I went to Edison's place, I saw that big billboard that was there. It says that Edison tried 1,000 experiments and failed. Wow, I'm not very bad. I'm very close to it. 1,000 experiments he did. Recently, I read one of his biographies where he says there was one young fellow who was helping Edison in the research work. And Edison was not fed up, but that fellow was fed up. He said, Edison, I'm not going to work with you. Other people have already left. And then he was one person sticking out to Edison, said that I'm just going, leaving. But then Edison requested him, please continue with me. And he said, there's a last chance. Afterwards, I will not be with you. You find out somebody else. And that is the day when Edison could get the result of a bulb. And actually, this happened in 1890s. And Vivekananda, in his letter to his friends, that was the first time at the Parliament of World Religions, there was World Trade Fair, the bulb was introduced. Swamiji writes about that bulb to Alasinga Paraman. He said that, what a wonderful thing to see that there are hundreds of lamps that are there. With one switch, you can light all the lamps. And it's like a miracle that he has talked about. Today, it's so common for us to have these bulbs. What is common for us 100 years ago, 120 years ago, it was a miracle. That's what Swami Vivekananda has written. And that happened because even 1,000 failure did not deter Edison. So success comes in the Grihastha. Try to work hard. Failure is not, that's why you said that failure is not a failure. If you, okay, failure can only be failure if you do not learn a lesson out of it. That's what happened in the case of Edison, that General Electric Company were doing the research. The owner, that he asked Edison, what has happened to the bulb? He said, yes, research is going on, my attempts are going on successfully. What do you mean by success? I mean, for such a long time that you've been working. Edison said that I tried 800 different kinds of making this bulb. But now I found out what is the result. Edison said the result is that those 800, I found out that those 800 methods are not the way that you make the bulb. But when you come out of it, now 800 methods are eliminated. So the chances are very few things that I need to try. So I'm closer to the result. I'm closer to the result. Take this positive way. Grihastha can give that. Everything that in Grihastha we progress in the positive way. You look at the way that earlier we used to have with one salary the whole Grihastha being maintained. The dad used to bring the salary and the mother used to take care of everything in the house, and then everybody used to live. It means basically that we had definitely comfort. We had comfort, everything, but at the same time, we had discipline in the work that we do it. It was not, money was the criteria. Money was not the criteria. Family, harmony, living together, this was the criteria. Not only in this country, and this was there all over the world, particularly in this country. Today, what happened? That two salaries are there. Even then, our requirements are not sufficient enough. We require more money. Why it happened? The focus is turned towards money. The Grihastha, the very fact that Grihastha is that focus should be Grihastha. Focus should be Gruha. Unfortunately, what happened, rather than the Gruha, the focus, today, money has become the focus. How wonderfully how harmoniously my house can be there was the focus of everything. That's why the women would take care of all that. Man would earn the money and bring it. And with one salary, we used to run. And we never felt that we were short of money. And that was what this culture was all about. Unfortunately, today it has happened. So generally what happened in Yoga Bharati, we said that let one person be earning the salary, other person give your life for Yoga Bharati, give your life for the social development, joyful way of doing activity. So therefore that we involve in the nature, because you belong to the society, give something back to the society. So this is what is the way that we do it. And that is the reason why extraordinary, wonderful concept is there about the Grihastha. You do the physical activity, you do the, because you have the energy, you do the all the experiments because you have the positive attitude when you are young days. Grihastha ashrama is between 25 to 50 years. You do all kinds of experiments, you do the activity, you get involved in the activity, do all those things. Money should not be the focus, but success should be but the way that you learn these things is the focus. So, and all these rituals are there. Now, the whole aspect of Karma Yoga, you do it during the Grihastha period. Of course, Raj Yoga is there that we do it. These days it's become popular. People are definitely involving in the Raj Yoga. That means to say, spend about a couple of hours. In fact, what Indian philosophy says is that health is your own responsibility. Nobody is responsible for your health. You take care of your health, which is supposed to be your primary responsibility. And that being the primary responsibility, what you need to do for the health, you do it. One thing is at the physical level, healthy food, try to get healthy food. Second thing is healthy lifestyle. Earlier, people used to have the lifestyle which is healthy. That means to say joints are there, we used to use the joints. Muscles are there, we used to have the activities for all the muscles. Slowly, what the technology developed so much that we put all those things into market. We have gadgets to see that you don't have to walk, gadgets to see that you don't have to do any physical activity. As a result of it, what happened is that you might get the objects, but actually that you're losing the ability to do the activity. In fact, it happened that when the muscles are not used, the muscles go to disuse. That means you don't use the muscles lose their ability to use. If you don't walk continuously for about a year, then you see that even to walk for about half a mile, it becomes difficult for you because you're not used to it. Earlier, imagine that we used to walk for about 10 miles without any difficulty. We have lost all that ability because we have given up doing all that activity. So therefore, exercise is something which is the first primary part of your maintaining your health, because you are the health, you are responsible for your health. You do it. And there are so much of research is done, how much physical exercise, what type of physical exercise you have to do. Today, all those things are maintained. At Grihastha level, I see that not even 10% of Grihasthas go for exercises. How unfortunate it is. If you say that why you are not going for exercise, they say that, look, today's life is so difficult, so busy that we don't have time for exercise. Which means basically, I'm not asking that you go for the time for exercise. I'm asking you, you don't have time for your own health, maintaining your own health, which is your primary responsibility. Nobody can maintain your health. So therefore, food is the first thing, exercise is second thing at the Annamaya Kosha level. Third is the activity that we do in the form of relaxation. And that's what is yoga. So allot a particular time in your life to maintain yourself and to take care of your health. And that take care of your health has at the physical level these three components: good food, good exercise, and then yoga, so that you can involve the physical body, but at the same time you can transcend the physical body. Annamaya Matmanam Upasankramati. We have such an extraordinary, wonderful information and research our people have done about the food. Let me spend some time explaining about it, this food that we have done. See, this is the only culture in the world where 60 to 70% of the people are vegetarian. No other culture in the world is vegetarian. And this has been there for thousands of years. And there is a reason why we have become vegetarian, how important it is. Somebody in USA came to me and asked a question that the wife asked the question, husband was there, others were there. He says, tell my husband that he should become vegetarian. I said, no, I don't tell, because let him be non-vegetarian. I have no objection about that. Because people who eat non-vegetarian also survive. He will also survive by eating non-vegetarian. Why should he become vegetarian? See, we try to become very defensive. No, I never become defensive. Let him become non-vegetarian. Let him eat non-veg. Not only that, caveman was eating raw meat. And because caveman survived eating raw meat, today we are all there. When you go back to something like 1,000 generations back, 10,000 generations back, our forefathers were also eating meat. So the caveman was eating meat, but then he survived. But slowly, what happened over a period of time, the meat fell in the fire. He thought that he lost the meat, but he said, okay, let me recover that. He took out that meat and ate. It was tasty. Then he developed the art of cooking the meat, frying the meat. That's what barbecue today that we have. So therefore, meat was put on the fire and then people used to eat. This continued for tens of thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years, man survived with that. After that, man developed various instruments and started tilling the land. When tilling the land, that's what is the time when mankind developed what is called as agrarian revolution. Agriculture is developed. When agriculture is developed, then they produced all these food grains. Food grains you don't find in the forest. You till the land, then only you get the food grain. That means to say, tens of thousands of years of research of mankind has produced the food grains. It's not just ordinary like that. So that means to say how much mankind advanced in the research so that food grains are produced. After the food grains are produced, that how much of amount of research must have gone behind it today that we could find all these different kind of dishes. You do not get otherwise. Like for example, all the sweets that are there, you don't find it on the tree. So many people have done so much research, therefore there is all this variety of sweets that is there. You go to a sweet shop, there are 300 varieties of sweets are there. You go to dosa place, you get about 50 varieties of dosa in Bangalore. These 50 varieties of dosa, you don't find it on the tree. Lot of research, lot of equipment has gone. In fact, you try to put the dosa, you can see that how difficult it is. It's an art. It's slowly developed all that. So therefore, that so much of research has gone. After that, today, what we have, the extraordinary, wonderful vegetarian food. So I tell that lady that, your husband wants latest watch, latest laptop, latest phone, 5G, 6G, whatever it is there, and all those things. Everything he wants latest, but food he would like to have caveman's food. What can we do for that? What I'm suggesting is that let him also become modern food. That is what is vegetarian food. So you don't have to be defensive. You tell him the reality. He feels ashamed of it. Not only that, there are so many advantages of vegetarian food. Research has shown that to have a vegetarian food for a single individual, 1.5 acres of land is sufficient. You can grow the vegetables, you can grow the crop, and then you can eat food. 1.5 acres is sufficient for you to maintain for throughout you're vegetarian. But if you're a non-vegetarian, then you have to grow the fodder, and that fodder animal has to eat, and then you cut the animal and kill the animal. So for that, non-vegetarian, you require at least 10.5 acres of land. That means by being vegetarian, I'm less burden on the earth than being a non-vegetarian. What is the big deal that I'm doing so that I have to become a burden on the earth? Let me become a very simplistic demand on the earth. That's 1.5 acres. So being vegetarian is like that. And people say that, oh, but another very important aspect is that vegetarian is simple cell structure. The bond is simple. Whereas non-vegetarian is complex bond. Because meat, it has a complex bond. So naturally, to release the energy from the complex bond, it takes more digestion. That's why a very simple thing is you look at your pressure cooker. The pressure cooker says that if you're cooking rice, you cook it for 20 minutes. If you're cooking non-vegetarian, you cook it for 60 minutes. That means how much of energy is unnecessarily wasted in just digesting the food. And if the pressure cooker wastes so much of energy, how much of energy are wasting on your tummy by taking non-vegetarian food? You can be wise about that. And people say that, oh, vegetarian food will not give you strength. But today that you can see that a lot of wonderful, extraordinary athletes, they are all vegetarian. They turn vegetarian. It becomes wonderful. No, in fact, yeah, some people claim that India is vegetarian. That's why they are very calm, conscious, sober people. They don't fight. There is no fighting spirit in them. No, no, no. We can fight. It's not because of vegetarian. In fact, some of the great fighters, warriors, they were vegetarian. You can see that Hitler was a vegetarian. Who do you want to be more violent than Hitler? So vegetarian food is there. There are so many sportsmen who are vegetarian. All those things are there. And the most important aspect is that we respect consciousness. And when we respect consciousness, highest manifest consciousness is the human being. And next in degree is the animals. Animals have next degree of highest respect of consciousness, and lesser than that is the plants. Why? Because animals have locomotion. Plants do not move. They don't have that movement. Just because they don't move, that's why there are a lot of things that they don't have which the animals have. Animals can fight and flight, whereas plants do not fight and flight. Fight and flight comes because of some adrenalines, steroids that are poured into the system. Plants do not have that. So therefore, plants are the least consciousness, animals are the next, and the highest is human being. For me to survive, I need something which is having life. And least life is the plant. Next is the animal. So therefore, my being vegetarian is my being respectful to the consciousness itself. I'm the highest. Therefore, I don't eat human being because he's like me, another consciousness level. So this way, consciousness, giving a respect to the consciousness is the way that we express in the being vegetarian. Recently, people have done this study saying that for centuries that this particular culture has this respect for this vegetarian food. That means we maintain that vegetarian food. As a result of it today, a lot of the CEO company CEOs, they're all vegetarian. They're all from India. Now, countries' chiefs also, the highest position in the country, they're also vegetarian. They're also Indians. The world is now turning towards that. So therefore, that basically that food is normally that it is supposed to be vegetarian food, and that's what is the Grihasthashrama. Even in India today, there are some people who eat non-vegetarian, but many try to avoid bringing non-vegetarian at home. They try to eat outside once in a while, not always. But I see in the other cultures that right from the breakfast there is non-vegetarian. When I was in Turkey, Turkey is a predominantly non-vegetarian place. It's so difficult to be vegetarian. So I went and spoke about vegetarian, educated about vegetarian. Now, almost like 200 our teachers, they become vegetarian in Turkey. They're Muslims, became vegetarian. But then there's one fellow who wanted to counter me. And says that what about egg? Is it vegetarian, non-vegetarian? Because it's not moving. I said it may not move. But tomorrow it is going to be the chicken. Therefore, that's also non-vegetarian. Don't eat egg. But then he wanted to counter me next year when I went. He said, but there are eggs which you do not hatch it. The mother chicken does not want to sit on the egg and hatch it. And that's there in your garden. So what do you do with that chicken? What do you do with that egg? So he wanted to trap me. I laughed. I said that it's a chicken's egg and it's chicken's problem, not my problem. Don't worry about it. I can survive without eating egg. So we become unnecessarily defensive. We don't have to become defensive. We know that this is what is right. Respecting consciousness and getting the food which is supposed to be good for our health. Less amount of health problems are there if you become vegetarian. These are all the things which are important. Of course, some lot of people give also the reference about the anatomical structure. That means non-vegetarian eating animals, they have small intestine, whereas we have large intestine. and that shows that we are vegetarian. All these things are there, but you don't have to go to that modern science to explain about these things, because vegetarianism has come to this country almost like 7,000 years ago that we have done that. So therefore, that at that time we didn't have the knowledge of all these things, but we had sufficient ground to follow the vegetarianism. So at the Grahastha level, try to take care of these three things. One is the physical exercise. Second thing is proper food, right kind of food. And third important thing is this relaxation, the slowness, the calmness that you do with the help of yoga. When you do that, you take care of your health, you take care of the family health. So yoga was a way of life. Everybody in the morning when they get used to do yoga. Today that is not there. At least let us do one thing, that in our homes, who know about these things, we start practicing some yoga or the other, sometime or the other in the morning or evening, when everybody is there in the house. Let everybody participate. Whoever would like to, at least if not participate, let them watch it. When they watch it, they get interest in doing this. How many houses I see that they do yoga? Not only in India, now it has become worldwide. And it's all the important discipline that is there in the Grahastha. So therefore, it's a place, Grahastha is the place where you practice the discipline, and every discipline is helping you to grow. More important thing is every discipline is helping you to become strong from within. Any discipline that you do is actually strengthening your willpower. And we have introduced in our culture so many disciplines like that at the Grasthashrama level, so that your willpower increases, your willpower becomes stronger. Let me once again quote what I said few times earlier also, that as a scientist in America, he said that psychiatrist in America says that where the culture has more number of disciplines, there in that culture, less amount of psychological aberrations. The culture where there is no disciplines, they have a lot of psychological problems. That's why in India, we don't require psychiatrists. Number of psychiatrists are so less, whereas in America, psychiatrists are more because they don't have discipline in their life. They require more of psychiatrists. We don't have that. Our self-psychology itself is something which will help us to see that we grow. Discipline brings about the inner strength. Every discipline strengthens your willpower. So therefore, this is what is yoga. Now let me give you in the next class how important it is to have this discipline and how they have incorporated in our way of life without even mentioning it clearly, that strongly, that there is a discipline involved in that. And that is what we say. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Shraddhavan labate jnanam. That means to say, you get the knowledge with the help of Shraddha. But Shraddha alone will not give the knowledge. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Tat paraha sanyate indriya, jitendriya. That means control over the senses, indriyas. Tatparaha Sanjatendriya Jnanam Labdhva Param Shantim Achirenadhigachati. You get into that Shanti. Normally, when you take an object outside and you go with the sensory organ to the object outside, you get the Shanti. Like, for example, you are hungry. Hungry makes you restless, and you give the food, you become Shanti. That is fine. But when you have that consciously conquer the jitendriya, samyatendriya, then the shanti that you get, Krishna says, is parama shanti. It's extraordinary shanti that you get. That's what is the spiritual shanti that you get. Shanti at the deep inner core that you are self. That's why he says, Shraddhavan labate jnanam, tat paraha sanyatendriya, jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena adhigachati. Adhigachati, you reach that state. So therefore, basically, Grihastha with these ideas of with these ideas of discipline that we have, we reach the spiritual goal, spiritual development. And that is the purpose of Grihastha. As I said, that this whole purpose of this life and this culture is how we can spiritually grow. So let's look into these aspects. The next class is to come. So we'll stop it at this place. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Anyone has any doubts? You can unmute yourself.
Hmm.
Hello,
Okay.
dear Haruratji.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Oh, namaste.
Yeah, wonderful
Wonderful to
thing to
see
say
you.
now. Thank you
Uh,
so much.
Lovely, lovely.
Little by little. Thank you.
Hey,
A
now your English
wonderful.
has improved. You can
Yeah,
understand much
exactly.
better.
I'm
Mm.
talking better and better. That is wonderful thing. Thank you so much, dear Raghuramji. And still, I have
Yeah.
something different, but I am better.
You're much, much better, Claudia. She is from Peru, Lima,
Yeah.
from South
Yeah.
America. And